Today on DNVR Buffs Live, we dive into Chris Marve and what you could expect from a Chris Marve-led defense for the Colorado Buffaloes. That and much more now.
Buff Nation.
Let's go.
Squad. Live from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. It is DNVR Buffs Live on a Thursday.
Did we purposely spell Marvel?
We're just not good spellers. We just need to admit that, right? It is what it is at this point.
I'm feeling marvelous all week, though.
One day we will learn how to spell and pronounce names, even. That is something we can achieve.
Shout out everybody in the chat. Everybody follow David Isabel's very simple commands. Smash that like button, man. Hit that subscribe button if you aren't already subscribed. And while you're at it, take advantage of our Die Hard sale going on right now, man. $36. It's almost damn near 60% off of the regular price, if I'm not mistaken. For the next year, you get access to all of our written content. And the written content is about to explode here. Obviously, the NFL Combine is going on right now as we speak. Colorado begins spring practices next week. We're going to have starter projections for this pre-spring coming to you soon. So much more. You got discounts at the bar. 15% off your tab at the DNVR bar, I believe. Take advantage, man. This is the time to do it.
DNVR bar food just keeps getting better, too.
For real, though.
We added these jalapeno poppers lately.
The nacho ones?
They are different.
Yes.
They are so good.
Pull up.
We have
kind of
cheese
addicted
curds?
to them. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah, bro. It's getting serious downstairs.
It really is.
Yeah, then we're doing like specials of the month. We got like a fish sandwich right now.
Wow.
Yep.
Let's go.
Come hang out. Today on the show, we'll be talking about CU basketball. Brennan Sorsby
What's up with Brennan? I don't think I've heard anything.
sued by Cincinnati over a buyout.
Right.
Um,
Got him.
Hate to see it.
New or potentially new rule changes coming to college football. Some I like, some that we're just again
Just doing
shifting
stuff.
furniture on the Titanic type of stuff. ESPN's defining game for every Power 4 team. I heard we got some new numbers.
Yeah.
For some new players.
Yeah.
But today we start talking about Chris Marve's defense. I was able to, kind of dig in a little bit and just some blatant quick takeaways really on this defense, things that stood out to me. I guess I'll just start with this. When we were talking about the construction of the roster and we were looking at some of these edge guys and wondering, like, are they going to start doing some three-man front type of stuff? The answer is going to be a resounding yes. I think that a lot of the roster construction this offseason lends to the theory that they saw this coming. Coach Prime saw this coming. And what Chris Marve wants to do on defense / did on defense at Virginia Tech when he was the DC in 23-24, the roster construction suggests a lot of that, I think. Particularly on the fronts. I think that you're going to see some very... just a wider range of fronts. 4-2-5 is probably the base defense, right? But you're going to see two down in those situations at times with two standing edges. You're also going to see some three-man front stuff with, a fourth guy standing on the edge, and then also purely 3-3-5 type of stuff. They'll run some 4-3. They'll bring in that linebacker on early downs and bring in that star / nickel Boo Carter player in obvious passing situations, or even if, I watched the Syracuse game and, they kind of like to air it out, right? Like they played a lot of that 4-2-5 with the nickel, being pretty versatile and doing a lot of things. It's another takeaway. This is a very much a Boo Carter defense. Going to get him was a very intentional move, I believe now. Looking for an impact player out of the slot. Last year we saw some of like blitzing from Preston Hodge and, it was effective at times. You're going to see much more versatile play out of that star / nickel whatever you want to call it, position moving forward. But yeah, really, the thing that stood out to me was just the versatile fronts. You'll see 3 down linemen with 2 standing edges, and so basically 5 on the line of scrimmage. It's not as aggressive as Robert Livingston's, I would say, in terms of the coverage, right? Not as much man coverage, probably a little more zone.
I think that's for the best.
I agree. And I just think overall it's a very much a try to keep things in front of you type of defense and read and react with speed as opposed to kind of beating teams to the spot with what Rob Livingston was wanting to do.
Go ahead.
I think that's all really good stuff. Him wanting to be very multiple up front, I think is something that is littered throughout Virginia Tech defensive tape when he was obviously the defensive coordinator. And I was listening to a presser of Chris Marve right before the 2024 season started, so August 2024, and he was just talking about how his philosophy on defensive linemen, like he prefers kind of the bigger, older, more matured guys, like the guys that you've seen kind of like Ezra Christensen, like 6'2", 280.
Yep.
The Dylan Manuels, like he prefers kind of those space-eating, who can also be disruptive as well, kind of on the interior defensive line. And I think that's where you're going to see multiple looks. Like you're going to see kind of a speed rush kind of group. You're going to see more of a run-stopping, big body taking up gap type of group as well. And also, this is a former linebacker, so I think a lot of what he does, he's thinking through a linebacker's lens.
Very much so.
And he's thinking, how can he help the second level of his defense as much as he can? And that's plays into, the different looks, the multiple looks up front with the guys defensively, because that helps, Gideon Lampron, Leon Alifal, Tyler Martinez kind of sift through traffic at the second level and whatnot. Another thing that I found out that I thought was really intriguing, back in 2024, Chris Marve's last season as defensive coordinator, Virginia Tech had the #1 red zone defense in the ACC.
Wow.
The 24? #1 2024, yep. His last season, just a couple years ago. #1 red zone defense in the ACC. You go back to 2024 for Colorado, they were the #1 red zone defense in the Big 12. That was obviously a calling card of that really strong defense that season. So this is, I think, a defense under Chris Marve that's going to lock in a little bit extra in the red zone, because that's what they're going to be coached to do as soon as Chris Marve kind of gets his hands on that entire unit, and that's promising. We talked about it, I think maybe earlier this week, maybe last week, for Brennan Marion, right? Red zone is where games are decided.
Yep.
Can you get 6 or can you hold them to 3? And I know this is going to be an emphasis for this defense, and that was just something that was really encouraging to me when I discovered that today.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I don't know if you guys have heard like some of the takes, the outside takes on Robert Livingston leaving.
Not really. What are they saying?
But I saw someone say like, "Oh wow, Robert Livingston must have seen some like really big red flags that he was like trying to get out of there any way he could at this last second." And I think if you follow the breadcrumbs, you get back to what you said, Jake, which is like, it kind of feels like they saw this coming based on the personnel that they were going to add. You talked a lot about the fronts long before we knew about Robert Livingston leaving, or at least officially.
Sure.
And you talk about Boo Carter. Boo Carter was one of the first names I heard during the what essentially is the college football's version of the legal tampering period.
Yes.
Is like, and like I didn't really believe it at the time because I was like, oh man, there's no way. But his name kept coming up to the point. Then he visited and was like, oh, this is real. Yeah. And they got him. So like, I think that there was a pretty conceited effort to bring in players that fit what is going on here. And it changes the narrative a lot on that. There was certainly some, I don't know if the word is expectation, but a feeling that this could be coming.
Yes.
And I think even the hire of Chris Marve as a linebackers coach was done with the idea in mind that, hey, if we end up needing a defensive coordinator, this is going to be our guy.
I think also the fact that, we talked about when we were previewing the defensive line last week, how Quincy Wiggins was the only returner. Mm-hmm. It completely makes sense because he fits that profile that he's looking for in those defensive ends/edges.
For sure.
Those bigger type of guys who, yes, he's around 250 pounds, right? Like he's got the length and all that. Like he can kind of do it all. Like if you want to stand him up on the edge, like he'd be definitely a bigger type of guy. But if you want to get hand in the dirt and play some 5 technique, like over a tackle, like he could do that type of stuff. Like technically a 3-4 defensive end, you know what I mean? Or maybe even a traditional 4-3 defensive end in terms of hand in the dirt. So.
And we talked to someone because it was kind of a while ago that Robert Livingston had that interview with the Cowboys. And we talked to someone that week who said, like, yeah, the interest is real, and if it happens, there's a plan in place.
Yep.
That was a while ago.
At least a month.
So, guys who we've also mentioned in that edge room, like Toby Anene, a bigger edge, right? Same thing with like Balansama Kamara, who was around 250 pounds as well. Like, I mean, and again, like you said, those were the things that tipped me off, like when those guys were committing.
Right.
And now it just makes so much more sense. And going back to what you were saying about, the red zone and stuff, I wouldn't necessarily call it a bend, don't break defense, but it definitely lends more towards that style as opposed to Robert Livingston's. We're going to be aggressive and we're going to try and suffocate you and just force you into mistakes type of thing. Like this is very much we're going to play sound defense, obviously. Like we're not trying to give up the whole field, but we're comfortable with you taking some underneath stuff and us like rallying to tackle the football. So.
Totally. Well, and the Robert Livingston defense was great in 2024. Why? Because they had better players than the other teams. And it's a very skill reliant or talent reliant defense. When the talent dipped last year, the play dipped tremendously. Now that doesn't mean that, playing more zone and things like that means that you have bad talent. It just means that you're less reliant on winning one-on-one matchups. You don't have a Travis Hunter to just take away half the field anymore. And so I kind of like this. And it's funny because it matches up really well with Brennan Marion, who literally invented his offense based on the fact that he was at a talent deficiency at a high school, and obviously has evolved it into what it is now. And now is going to be playing, some of the first few games for him where he might be at a talent advantage. Given what he has on offense.
I was say I think it's, and you kind of alluded to it, I think it's going to be a pretty sizable philosophical change defensively. Like a Robert Livingston, like. Dating back to 2024, he was trying to create chaos. He was trying to create sacks and create turnovers.
Getting shooter shots,
exactly right. And that worked in 2024. It didn't work last year in either department. And I think that's even why Coach Livingston, before the season, had the quote, like, hopefully our superpower this year is taking the ball away. Because I think he knew he didn't have the pass rush prowess like he did in 2024. So he was even more reliant on the turnovers. But that's... Obviously, you're going to want to create sacks. You're going to want to create turnovers as well, but that's not exactly at the top of the priority list for Chris Marve's defense, right? It's about keeping you out of the end zone. Right? And keeping you under 24, 27 points per game, which, this defense, Virginia Tech's defense allowed 22.8 in 2024, his last year as a DC. So I think it's going to be a philosophical change, and I think it fits what this defense has at its disposal personnel-wise, because there are no Travis Hunter not walking back through the door. You know what I'm saying? Block Bully isn't walking back through the door. Hopefully you have a guy or two up front who can replicate the impact of Nwankwo, but it's a different, kind of cabinet of ingredients, so to speak, this year as opposed to 2024 and certainly last year.
Totally. People were getting on you yesterday for quote cherry picking stats about Chris Marve's 2024 defense, right? Let's talk about that and a little bit more in terms of why I think that all those stats maybe aren't, stats lie sometimes, right? But they also kind of tell the story at the same time. So we'll talk more about that on the other side of this break. Shout out to our friends over at Bet365, the homies. Of course, right now you got the deposit $10, bet $5. You'll get $200 in bonus bets offer going right now. But it's time to get in on the action over at Bet365. NBA, NHL, playoff pushes going on now. We're back from the Olympics for the NHL. It's time for the Avs to push for Stanley Cup playoffs here very, very soon. Baseball starting up. Also with that, if you want to get in on the action early and get maybe some, are you a spring training betting guy?
No, I am not that much of a...
Figured I'd ask. Yeah, but if you're interested, they got the early moneyline payout offer. Your team goes ahead by 5 runs. It's an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections. marked as winners. Again, download the app, use the promo code DNVR365, and new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. Just sign up, use the code DNVR365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5. Again, $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Bonus bets can be used on anything. Spread, totals, player props, futures, SGPs, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older. Physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or somebody who knows a gambling problem wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply.
And shout out to the squad, our good friends over at Benihana, man. The elite spot, I think, for date night, bro. Whether that's on a Monday or a Tuesday or a Friday, it doesn't matter what day.
It's very much date night material, I can tell you that.
100%.
All three of us agree, right? Okay.
Especially during happy hour, man. The $3, $6, $9 happy hour, man. Happy hour at Benihana starts at just $3, man. You can get specialty rolls, cocktails, premium bites at the Denver and Broomfield location from 3 to 6 p.m. during happy hour. The Hibachi Grill is where it's at, man. This is a show that happens right in front of you. It's not just a meal. This is a whole experience when you slide over to our friends over at Benihana, man. You can tap into the shrimp toss, the onion volcano, get that beating heart fried rice.
All the classics.
To set the vibe for date night, bro. So make your reservation and find out more at Benihana.com. Shout out to Benihanas, man.
All right, back on the show, wrapping up thoughts about Chris Marve's defense at Virginia Tech. This is kind of what we talked about with Dre the last couple of days in the office was, like, what players did he have on that defense, right? And there were some that we could mention. There's one in this year's draft who's really good, who transferred out. Mansour Delane, the first-round LSU prospect. He played at Virginia Tech in 23-24. So a lot of that defense was kind of built on him, kind of similar to Travis, right? Like, they counted on him to lock down one side of the field, and he was attacking the football, punching footballs out, all that type of stuff. But, you know, they had some difference makers. Aeneas Peebles was a guy. The fact is, though, in 2024 specifically, they just didn't have the guys up front. I mean, they are getting moved, man, in the run game. So, like, you can bring up the lack of you bringing up the run game stats from that season. The fact of the matter is, it was kind of like last year for the Buffs. They just, different circumstances. The Buffs couldn't tackle. Virginia Tech actually tackled pretty well from what I saw. It's just they had no one who could win one-on-one, and they had no one who was really just a difference maker up front. And that resulted in the line of scrimmage being reset consistently and forcing these safeties and linebackers to make tackles.
Which is why I was defending Robert Livingston after last season. It's the same problem.
Yep.
Exactly.
And the more that I watch this game, the more that I move away from thinking coaching is a big deal on defense.
Yes, bro.
Now, it matters.
Of course.
For sure. And you can have a talented defense get coached to a lower level than they should be. And you can certainly have a less talented defense get coached up. But a lot of times when you see the extremes, the great defenses have the best players, and the bad defenses have the worst players.
Yep.
And, you know, the margins when it comes to coaching are small, I think. It's a baseline set by your talent, and you can bring it up a little bit or bring it down a little bit. But I just think in this sport, it really on defense comes down to, do you have the Jimmies and Joes?
Totally agree.
That was my first thought when people were tripping about that, like the ring. It's like, did he have good players? Were there good players on the defense? And when I share stats like that, it's simply to provide context.
Of course.
It's not to make anybody think a certain way.
Or push a narrative.
Or push a narrative. It's simply to provide context for people who might not have heard of Chris Marve before a month ago or 2 months ago, so to speak.
You're pushing the positivity narrative, bro.
But that is really all it is. And even the good ones, like, require additional context. You know what I'm saying? And that's really what it's all about. But it's silly to me to judge a coach on what his players are out there doing. Obviously, you have to judge coaches just like you do players sometimes.
The film is the film.
But the film is the film. And football is such a unique sport. It's the ultimate team game, but it's such a unique sport where it's hard to just make rash judgments on one stat or one game or one play.
One season sometimes.
One season even, 100%. But it is a results-driven business, right? And you are what your record is, so to speak, particularly talking about head coaches. But that's really all these stats are meant just to provide context and give people a better idea of what they could potentially expect. They are not meant to, give, black and white sort of answers, so to speak.
It is funny the types of things that coaches get credit for and the types of things that coaches get blamed for.
Yep.
And oftentimes it just comes back to like a narrative around the person. Are they considered a good coach? And they get credit for a lot of things that are just the players doing it. But one of the ones that I always come back to, and I've asked a lot of coaches this question, and I've never really got a good answer for it. When teams get penalized a lot, they're called undisciplined,
right?
And it goes on the coaches,
right?
And I've asked coaches who have low penalty numbers, coaches who have high penalty numbers. What does that mean? How does that work? What are you coaching? How do you become a disciplined team that doesn't get penalties? And like, there's never really a good answer.
No,
it comes down to the players following the rules and knowing the intricacies of kind of how to get away with stuff and things like that. But going back to, I think the main point here is I think we have a lot of confidence in the team that they're going to have out there on defense. And at least the original version of it, because, there's certainly some positions that you could question the depth.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that kind of works out, and you kind of hope for health at those positions. But that starting 11 and really going to maybe even like 14, 15 when you think about defensive line rotation, I think we feel really good about. And that is the main reason why I feel good about what's going to happen for Coach Marve.
That's what I tweeted today. I published my, kind of pre-spring defensive preview that's on the site. Everybody go check that out, thednvr.com for the diehards. But that was what I tweeted to accompany it. Like, Chris Marve he's going to have plenty of talent to work with on the defensive side of the ball at all three levels, particularly at I think the most important position, the position that he played. Like, you've got three really experienced, good options at linebacker, not even including your freshman linebackers as well. So I think he's going to be supported with the right talent, and I think it's going to make him look good.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, a lot of talk about like complementary football this offseason, right? And I think they're building truly a team, I think, in Boulder right now, to the offense and defense to complement each other in terms of their play style, right?
Yeah.
In terms of the offense, it's going to, it's some ball control, right? They're definitely going to try and run the ball more than they have in previous years. But as Brendan Marion constantly says, it's a vertical offense. It's going to be a lot of shots and a lot of counting on those big shots to maybe, flip the field at times, but also on the run game to kind of grind out some possessions and to, again, just be unpredictable or try to give the illusion of unpredictability on offense, right? And then defensively, if this defense works as purely intended, I think it will enhance, kind of that play style with maybe not trying to be as aggressive and giving up as many big plays, right? Yeah. Also trying to control the clock in that way. Like, it's okay if we give up an 8-play, 50-yard drive if it ends up in a field goal. Yeah. We can't give up an 8-play, 80-yard drive that ends in a touchdown.
Or a 2-play, 80-yard drive.
Exactly, yes.
I think we saw a 1-play, 93-yard drive last year, I believe.
We saw multiple 1 or 2 play, 3-play drives.
1-play 75-yard drive to start a game.
Yeah,
literally.
Exactly. So I think that's really what they're trying to fix in terms of the defensive problems from last year.
No, it's such a great point. And you really think about it, there are so many times. I'm slowly but surely pushing these memories out of my head. There are so many times where we went on the post-game show and we were just like, yeah, like it was all going fine, and then this happened.
Yep.
And I think all of those times was a big gasher on the defense.
Raleek Brown in the ASU game, right? That's what blew that game open, too.
Wasn't that the 90
I'm pretty sure
plus yard touchdown?
I think he had 200 plus or close to rushing yards in that game, and part of that was a massive 80, 90, 70-yard run, whatever it was.
You just made me think about the first offensive play of the Utah game and how...
Oh, yeah. 1-play 75
yards. How helpless of a feeling that was. Just from us up in the box.
Exactly.
Like, damn.
Yeah.
Not to mention it was a true freshman making his first start. But we don't got to go down that.
The amount of times this program has made me feel that feeling. Someone should be in jail.
No, for real.
Any other thoughts on Chris Marve and the defense before we move on?
I think it's really interesting you mentioned that this is a Boo Carter defense, man, because the more you sit and think about his potential role, his talent as I think a future NFL guy, it can't not make you excited.
And I throw Rando in that too.
Oh,
in terms of coming down and playing that like star position, playing in the box. If you're in a 4-2-5 type of look and, putting 7 in the box, like he's going to fit that role pretty well. I won't rule out Nate Mitchell either. Like, I think that there's some versatility from that safety and that kind of nickel group too. So, that was a calling card for Robert Livingston also, right? He really loves those aggressive nickels. And what?
This is something that we were texting about earlier.
Yeah. But it's, again, they're not going to be as aggressive, I think, but they're still going to allow Boo Carter to do his thing.
Love that.
Man, Boo Carter has an unbelievable opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
One great year could change your life.
Yep.
He's got to lock in for 365 days.
Not even that, honestly.
Truly.
So
I just can't believe he looked like that physically.
Yeah.
Playing nickel corner, slot corner, or whatever. Bro looks like a SEC running back.
Yeah.
Kind of is one.
You're not lying.
He has like the facial structure of a linebacker.
Yeah. He does.
For sure.
Like there's just certain dudes that you could see like getting off the bus. You're like, man, I hope that guy doesn't hit me today.
For real. Or I hope I don't got to hit him.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, one last thought too, because you mentioned blaming like a coach for turnovers or for penalties or whatever, and like the divide between, it's like a chicken and the egg scenario type, right? Yeah. We talk about instincts a lot with the linebackers, right? I think playing defense just comes down to that. Do you have a feel for the game?
100%.
Are you instinctual? Can you fly to the football? A lot of that is effort too. And so I think that's why Coach Rob gets a bad rep from last year, right? Is because I think a lot of that was missing on the defensive side of the ball. But at the same time, if it's not there, and yes, part of that is probably on the coaches for picking said players, sure. Like, again, chicken and egg type of scenario, though.
Totally. It is funny when people talk about, like, lack of turnovers, being on coaching or whatever, and it's like, you don't think that they're, what do you want them to say? Hey, go get the ball.
Right.
And, like, sometimes it is, your guys are out of position, and that is on coaching. But a lot of times it's luck.
It is.
Like the Broncos are one of the best defenses in the NFL this year, if not the best. But they weren't getting the ball. The ball just wasn't finding them.
Yep. Meanwhile, the Bears could turn over the ball at will almost.
I mean, that 2023 defense, which was not good, was turning the ball over a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
And you just think about some of those were just ridiculous one-of-one plays that Travis Hunter was making. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to give that credit to Robert
legitimately plays that he made, 3 times during that season that I've never seen anyone else make in my life.
For sure.
Yeah.
A lot of those are player. And also with the penalties, it's like, say you're a highly penalized team. Who do you blame that on? Do you blame it on the head coach? Because it's not like it's broken down like these are offensive. You put it on the OC or the DC. Like it's just a difficult conversation to have and try to place blame when that's a persistent issue, which it has been.
Missed tackles,
that as well.
You don't think they're teaching those guys how to tackle?
Right. But again, that's the thing you've been taught since you ever started playing the game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how much does coaching actually matter in that when it's one of the fundamentals of the game? You just have to do that well to be good at all on defense.
I completely agree. It's like passing the ball in basketball.
Exactly. 100%. So, but this is why we're here, right? Like to try and contextualize it, to try and talk it out. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of blame that could go around, a lot of praise that could go around too. And this is why we talk it all out.
I also love tackling being an issue last year. Something tells me that somebody who was a former linebacker, four-time All-SEC linebacker who had 400 tackles in their college career, probably don't play about tackling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's something that I think.
No, it is. It's a requirement for sure.
I think it's going to be.
That's a great point. And didn't he also, if we talked about it, he had a bunch of forced fumbles?
Yes,
I think
he
you
did.
mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So there you go. I mean, when you talk about rallying to the ball and keeping things in front of you, there should be a lot of opportunities for someone to throw a fist in there.
Thank God. Yes, bro. I'm telling you, like, that's also a thing. Like, coach that, please. Like, I was telling Dre, I'm at the point where, like, if I don't see a player, like a draft prospect trying to punch at the football, I don't know if I want him on the Broncos, honestly.
How many more broken hands are we getting, though, because of that?
It didn't work, though. They even had the club to help him.
It's true. I'm just saying, like,
Sure.
I'm glad that when I was playing football, it wasn't just expected to just fly in with your fist every play.
All right, let's take our next break. Lots more to get to on the show. Shout out to our friends over at Taco Bell. The legends at it again. The best in the game when it comes to menu innovation. Also just keeping the classics. I'd argue Taco Bell's menu, pound for pound,
Oh, yeah.
probably one of the best out there.
In terms of value,
Value,
Can't be
taste,
Oh, yeah.
versatility. They got it all, man. Check it out right now. New limited time only. The Chicken Bacon Ranch Street Chalupas. They are delicious. 2 street-sized cheddar chalupa shells filled with slow-roasted chicken, flavorful bacon, freshly prepared pico de gallo, shredded cheese, and that delicious avocado ranch sauce. Tons more at Taco Bell, as you all know. Nacho fries. The quesadillas to die for, man. That quesadilla sauce, you got to get on that. And, of course, the Lux Value Menu. 10 items for $3 or under, delivering bold, irresistible flavor and crave-worthy items at an unbelievable price. Nobody delivers everyday value and supports your hometown teams like Taco Bell. Shout out to our friends over at Taco Bell. Live Mas.
and shout out to the squad, our good friends over at Game Time, man. It's basketball season, and I love it. Although my Bulls are in full tank mode, the Denver Nuggets playing some good basketball right now. We got a big win over the Boston Celtics at home last night. And if you want to get inside Ball Arena to watch the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic play basketball in person, hit up our friends over at Game Time, because the Game Time app gives the advantage back to you guys, the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. The app is so easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price, man. You can get exclusive discounts like zone deals. You get views from all seats in the venue right from the app. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase, man. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem that code DNVR for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today.
All right. We got some jersey numbers for new players.
We do.
What do we got?
We got
Instant
a
reaction.
handful.
This is how their season's going to go based on these numbers.
All right. I love that. That's basically my specialty.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, let's make big judgments on these numbers.
Absolutely.
All right. Somebody who people have been asking about. DeAndre Moore Jr.
Okay.
is going to be wearing number 3.
Love it.
Love the number. It has been a little bit cursed.
Certainly was last. Yeah.
It's
It's brought its moments, though. It's at its moments.
It
but
has had
its moments,
You're
for
right.
sure.
I'd look, didn't think
I'm
about that.
expecting a 4 touchdown game. No, that's a good number for him.
I love that. Christian Ward, another receiver, 17, formerly worn by Isaiah Hart.
Yeah, good
And
number.
It's a good number.
is it him or Alexander who's the two-way guy?
I believe Alex is the 2-way player.
Okay. Okay.
That's solid. 17's always like a reliable.
Yes.
I trust
Reliable,
17 when he's on the
yes.
field. Yeah.
I feel like that fits like his build, too. Like, he's a taller guy.
Yes,
6'2"
for sure.
Almost.
Getting Devon Vele vibes.
Ooh, okay.
True freshman Braylon Edwards is going to be wearing 26, formerly worn by Simeon Price. I like that for the safety, the true freshman safety. That's a good number for
Sounds like a
true
number
freshman.
that's going to see the field.
That's what. You feel me? How about Nate?
I like it. Darian Stewart. wore
Special
26.
teams demon type of number.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a hitter too, man. I
He
don't know
is.
if we spent enough time talking about Braylon Edwards. Like, he plays with that physical, downhill, reckless abandonment that Tawfiq Byard had, Cameron Stillman Craig had.
Yep.
That just type of play style.
Did Colton Hood wear 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I said, like, there's been moments. Like,
Yeah.
there's been good moments.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Dylan had moments.
Yep.
Is there anyone else other than those two and Caden?
Well, I think Tayon wore it last year.
Okay.
Tough
right.
year for him.
Right.
But
Didn't really play that much.
Next up, Nathan Mitchell wearing his number 4 that he rocked at New Mexico
Let's go.
State. I love that.
Love it.
Perfect number.
That's
Formerly worn by Preston Hodge.
of all of them so far. That's the best one.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Vili Tafafatoa gonna be rocking 45 off that edge. I like that.
me too.
Yeah, that's
It's a good edge number.
Yep.
it's a workman like.
He gonna have the hair coming out. The
I can
back
already
of the
picture him just
helmet,
strong
you know?
arm and holding the edge with that 45. Let's go.
Hell yeah! I think Vili's gonna be a really impactful player on this team this year as well.
What else we got?
Big Dylan Manuel,
Okay.
9'9".
Beautiful.
Big fellow.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Lining up right over your center, right over your guard, immovable at the point of
Damn,
attack.
I haven't heard one that I don't like yet.
What else we got?
We got a couple more. Redshirt freshman, cornerback Jason Stokes Jr. He's going to be rocking 13. That's also
Interesting.
Caleb Mathis's number.
That was Slaughter last year, too.
Slaughter last year, right? So, yeah, it's interesting.
I'm okay with it.
Jason Stokes.
13's a tough one, I think. Not his fault. It's just the
Yeah.
number itself.
And this is actually interesting.
Oh, Omarion Cooper was number 3.
First half, Omarion Cooper was really good.
Yeah.
Second half was
I can point to the play when it all changed.
Yep.
And then the last one that actually is kind of interesting, Taj White, the
Okay.
Rutgers offensive lineman transfer, is going to be rocking 54.
Okay.
The number that Philip Houston had been rocking, correct? I'm double checking, but I
think
believe
so.
Philip has been rocking 54 the last couple
I think
years.
so.
So that could
Not great for
potentially
his
mean
eligibility case.
could potentially be some
True.
piece of news there. I'm double checking that now. I'm pretty sure. Yep. Yeah. Philip Houston has been rocking. Him and Bola Penna have been rocking 54 the last couple of years. So that might mean something in terms of Philip Houston's eligibility.
I think Bola Penna was the other captain for the
I think you're right.
black and gold.
I think you're right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do we have a Boo Carter number?
We do not have a Boo Carter number yet. No number 0 yet. We'll
Not
keep an
coming
eye on that.
anytime
though.
soon.
I mean, we'll see. We should get a roster update some point
You would
here.
think.
One would think.
And we're going to leave that there.
No, that's it though.
Is that it? Okay. Cool. I
Very
like that.
interesting. I love that. I'm excited. I'm always excited to see, especially with a ton of new players, who gets what. Because I don't know, as a former football player, it means something.
It
It's not
definitely
nothing.
does.
It's not nothing.
100%.
So
Just look at Troy Franklin.
he switched, right?
Yep.
He just
Was 16, had a rough rookie season,
Mm-hmm.
switched back to his natural 11. Boom, 700 yards as a 21-year-old second-year player.
That's fire.
Let's go. ESPN put out a list of college football's defining games in 2026 for every Power 4 team. I know you know this.
Mm-hmm.
You want to take a stab at what you think they picked for Colorado?
Georgia Tech.
That is exactly it. This was written by just his ESPN staff. For Georgia Tech,
That's kind of crazy. Like, give the byline to the person that wrote it.
Well, I'm assuming they probably
Well-
have one person like they submit
they
something
broke
for
it up
Cal.
for yes,
They
exactly.
submit something for Clemson.
They broke it up in
so it's
teams.
Probably that.
Okay, even then, I feel like just put
So
everyone on it.
Do they include their name after each byline though, or after each blurb?
yes, we got
okay.
Lyles.
Don't know who that. Oh, Harry Lyles probably.
Okay.
Who covers? He does like sideline stuff
Yes.
for college football on
Yes.
ESPN.
Not to be confused with Harry Styles.
Not at all.
Very different, yes. This selection is all about getting the season off on the right foot for Colorado. The Buffs open with 3 of 4 games on the road against Power 4 opponents, and quarterback Julian Lewis will be playing this one in front of a bunch of friends and family. Getting a momentum starting win in Atlanta could be huge in propelling Deion Sanders' team into a successful 2026 season. I think we all agree.
Completely agree. I mean, just the way that. So, yeah, every year up until last year of the Prime era, they've won the first game.
Yep.
That's because Shador never loses first games.
Yep.
Exactly right.
And the vibe shift of last year, coming off a loss in that game in a big blown opportunity, I think was a real sliding door moment for that season.
I agree.
Yeah, it was. I also they mentioned obviously the Atlanta connection with Juju. We've talked about there's a lot of guys from Atlanta area, from Georgia. That just made me think about I'm ready to submit my way too early pick for offensive player of the game for week 1. Cam Perry back in Atlanta, he finna go crazy. I'm already knowing.
I like that.
Georgia
I'll take
Tech.
Julian Lewis.
Georgia Tech had their rivalry game against Georgia as their most important game. It's their last game of the season, but Colorado does get a mention. It is Harry Lyles Jr. actually, because he wrote the Georgia Tech one too. But he mentioned Colorado in their blurb as well. So It's very much like last year, I think, where, I mean, sliding glass door moments. Georgia Tech goes on to have a 9-3 season. Colorado goes on to be 3-9. I mean,
for sure.
And in that game, they were
hanging the balance.
absolutely, yeah. Anyone could have won that game. It was just the bounce of the ball a couple times, honestly.
Some really bad play calling.
And for what it's worth, Colorado not mentioned as another team's biggest game. So flying under the radar here.
Who is humor me? Who they got as Tech's biggest game?
Texas Tech. They have
I don't even know what their schedule is, but I'm just
It's
gonna
Not
weak
good.
as hell.
Yeah, it's not good.
weak as hell.
That's why I'm curious.
September 19th at home against Houston. That tells you how good the
At
schedule
home
is.
against Houston.
Yes.
That's crazy.
But
Yeah.
it does say, for what it's worth in the blurb here, the Red Raiders have become the game circled on every Big 12 team schedule.
Yeah.
They will certainly want revenge for last year's loss against ASU, but
They're
Houston
everybody's
arrives
Super
first.
Bowl.
It's looking like it. Are they allowed to say that?
I'm curious, if not Colorado, who is Northwestern's game that they have scheduled?
I mean, they're in the Big Ten. It's probably
Sure, but Ohio State,
October 2nd versus Penn State. Oh, that's the game where their stadium opens.
makes sense.
Their new stadium for the first time.
Makes sense.
Is the temporary stadium in Evanston?
It's on campus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rule changes. So, the NCAA subcommittee proposes 1-year trial rule changes for targeting, mostly the penalty. And not even really the penalty. It's the stupid hangover. You missed the first half of the game.
I really hate that one.
Me too. It's one of my least favorite things about college football, honestly. Under the recommended change, a player disqualified for targeting for the first time during the season, regardless of which half it occurs in, could play in the next game. The current rule requires players who are ejected for targeting the second half to miss the first half of the following game. The current rule would continue to apply for players who are called for targeting a second time during the same season of play. Therefore, if a player is called for targeting for the second time in a season during the second half of a game, he will be forced to sit out the first half of the following game. So it's just a first offense type thing, which I think is progress, but honestly, this rule just sucks. It just flat out sucks. You only get 12 games a season, and I hate just eliminating, especially for these ticky-tacky calls where it's like, well, the running back ducked his head, and it's like, well, there's a bit of shoulder there, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
I realize that we generally don't want to give the refs more discretion. I just think that there has to be a conversation of, was there malice here?
I agree.
And I think the rule can be simplified down to that. And sure, are they going to get it wrong? I'm sure they will.
Because it's hard to determine that.
But there's
someone's
so many
intention.
times where it's so obvious that there wasn't malice.
Yeah.
But it fits the letter of the law,
Yeah.
and so they have to eject the player. And what I really hate is how in big games, the ref crew knows, or especially early on in the game, like, man, if we call targeting here, it's going to change the entire course of this football game. And so then they kind of like change it. And a lot of times you'll be like, oh, letter of the law, he's going to go. And then they
Right.
come back and they're like, there's no targeting. And it's like, it's because they're like, we don't want to eject this guy from the conference
Star player
championship
or
game.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that there should be a little bit of decision making on the ref's part to say, like, was there malintent?
I completely agree. I mean, player safety is obviously the foundational
Spirit.
spirit of the rule. Yes, exactly. But it's a fast game, man. And that's what pisses me off the most is when it's late in a game. Not only is the call going to help decide the game, but now you're just hamstringing this team. And usually it's a good player, right? Like it's players trying to make plays.
Starter. Yeah.
Exactly. So
I do think sometimes I've seen some hits where it's like he need to be ejected.
of course.
You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Like, just came to my mind right now. If y'all remember Trevor Woods in
Yes.
their bowl game or conference championship
Yes.
game this year, he got ejected and he earned that
Yes,
ejection.
he did.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, he did.
So yeah, sometimes there are hits that are not within the spirit of the rule or in competition, or at least safe competition, and you have to be penalized, punished for it. But I think too often we see times where it's like there was nothing ill-intentioned about this collision.
Yep. The FBS and FCS oversight committees must approve the proposal before it becomes official. They are set to review the rule recommendation on March 19th, while the FCS oversight committee will review it on March 23rd. Also, the NCAA will mandate that players must cover up their skin from the waist down, similar to the NFL rules. This will come effect immediately for the 2026 season.
Wait, from the waist down?
So a lot of players have been pulling their pants like way above their knees.
Yeah.
And this is actually an existing rule that they just don't enforce. Like they're saying you have to cover up your knees. That is in the rule book. They just have not been enforcing it. They're letting these players looks like shorts out there. And Kirk Herbstreit had a
biker shorts.
Literally though, but Kirk Herbstreit had a viral like clip of a game where he was talking about how much he hated it and all that earlier this year.
It's interesting because like when I was playing football in college, like that's when it started to shift. Like when I grew up, like even in high school, like everybody wore knee pads and thigh pads, like everybody, every position. But by the time like I was a junior and senior in college, nobody was wearing knee pads, like no matter the position.
Yeah.
And you just had your knees out. And
Which is crazy.
It is insane.
And you almost never saw injuries though. That was the weird part too.
Yeah.
It's like, were we just all wearing knee pads just because like that's what we were?
For me, the knee pads don't matter. It's the thigh pads, bro. I don't know how you can't wear thigh pads.
Yeah, I agree. You need thigh pads. Like that is literally asking to be injured. But some people do it. And some people, they be in that squat rack all off season. They feel like they don't need thigh pads. You know what I'm saying? So
here's what I'll say about it is, to me, from the way that I grew up, it looks kind of goofy when these guys have their pants all rolled up.
Yeah.
But I also just think like that's just the swag, and it'll go back the other way, and it'll always kind of like bounce back and forth. Like I remember my grandpa complaining about baseball players not curving their brims anymore at one point, and I was like, "Bro, you sound so old." Like, and like, so I don't want to be that guy who's like, "These kids, what's going on with their pants?"
People are asking, I don't know if this like has to do with like calves and socks, especially because some players decide not to wear the socks. So,
well, Nikos in his tweet, he said players have to wear leg coverings from the top of their shoes to the bottom of their pants.
So they are going to basically, you either need to wear like leggings or socks, pretty much.
Yeah. Which
whatever.
Because I personally love the one legging look.
I agree.
Know what I'm saying? I wonder if that abolishes it.
We got to come up with a better name than leggings.
That's better than tights.
Yeah, I've always called them leggings.
Like compression pants.
For me though, and again, it's just in high school, but like I was so scared of like turf burn that I was like, absolutely, I'm wearing like leg stuff like to cover up because that shit gets nasty.
Yeah,
no doubt.
We talked a little bit about this yesterday. There's a term for it. NCAA proposes penalties as programs brace for blind spring transfers, which is what we talked about yesterday. I don't remember the term we used yesterday for it, but it's the Xavier Lucas thing.
What was it, blind transfer or something like that?
Yeah, blind transfers. Yep.
Can I just bring up one more thing on what you were just talking about with these proposed rule changes that I thought was interesting? They also proposed changing pass interference penalties.
Yes.
From
offensive pass interference.
Thank you. Offensive pass interference from 15 yards to 10 yards. Which
10 to 15.
It's currently 15.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's currently 15. And they proposed to make it a 10-yard penalty instead.
Now, why would that make any sense? Why is the rule different for offense and defense?
Well, they don't even do spot fouls in college, or in terms of pass interference.
What I'm saying is, why would pass interference be more of a penalty for the defense than it would be for the offense?
I think it's more a defensive pass interference is more damaging. Like you're preventing them from moving the football down the field. You know what I'm saying? Whereas offensive pass interference, you're kind of hurting yourself. You're not hurting them.
A lot of times, offensive pass interference gets called because the defender is going to get an interception, and they like had to.
I'm thinking more like pick plays.
Yeah, I
think
too.
OPI.
Do y'all remember the one in the Houston game, bro?
Yes.
Which gets forgot because it ended up being a blowout, but this was like second quarter when the game was still in hand.
Sliding door moment in the game.
Literally. And they reviewed it. That's what pissed me off.
Well, and it was behind the line of scrimmage, too.
Yes. They reviewed it and didn't overturn it.
Yeah.
And didn't call the offensive pass interference when it very clearly was.
No, didn't they? I thought they called it on the field, and then they reviewed it and overturned it because the ball was caught behind the line.
Yes, exactly. I think so.
I think that's right. But I think on the replay, it's like that wasn't the case. Like he wasn't actually behind the line of scrimmage, or he didn't catch it behind the line. For sure.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, if you're going to go back and review it, get it right.
Yeah.
Totally.
But yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting if they do that.
That just kind of like stirred up some feelings in me from that game where I was so pissed.
And then they're adding, I don't know. I thought this was in the game, but they're adding the fair catch kick, which again, very rare play. You're hardly ever going to see it unless it's like a end of half type
Fair
of scenario.
catch free kick?
Yeah. Fair catch kick after a completed fair catch.
Nice.
Yeah. Which again, I thought that was in the game, but
Yeah.
it's so rare that you weren't going to really see it often anyways, but it could be a scoring play.
Totally. Be cool if it ever happens.
Totally.
I'm Heaven's Demon. The one legging look has definitely been around before. Andrew Reese kind of popularized
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
And AJ Wilson. They both do it. Both look great with it as well, but it was around before them.
Also, again, going back to the blind spring transfers thing, it just seems like the NCAA is really going to crack down on that this year. But there is some pushback.
It's such a rare occurrence.
A Power 4 general manager talked to On3 and said, I think schools are going to go after those kids. So if they have a signed agreement, schools and personnel staffs don't give a shit if they're going to be this transactional. There's going to be a ton of money that's going to need to be paid. That's just the reality of it. I'm sure it's going to happen. Schools are going to go after kids. Schools should have deals in place that go from January to the end of season. So that's where the buyout will be a factor. When you get to spring ball and you have a devastating injury that's going to affect the roster going into the year, you'll go pay whatever to get someone to fill that spot. Another Power 4 GM said, it is not a concern for me, but if you're a non-championship competing program, it definitely is a concern. That's not going to stop schools from looking into guys. Just from those quotes, I mean, it feels like they expect at least some schools to try it. To lure, again, there's no portal in the spring, but to try and, I don't know, I guess buy guys out of their deal with schools
Definitely
and then
happen.
tell them, okay, you walk on here, but we'll pay you this type of, you know what I mean?
You think
It's just-
Pete Golden not finna do that? You think Lane Kiffin finna not do
But if
that?
they're actually going to do these rules, then that'll stop it.
I agree. And again, tampering was another thing mentioned today in terms of something that the NCAA is going to try and crack down on more. So
Shout out to whoever was trying to get ahead of this before it happened. That's very, very rare for the NCAA.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Usually everyone figures out the loopholes and then they have to close them.
There was this quote too from a Power 4 GM talking about college football programs bracing for blind spring transfers. There's going to be 15 really high-profile guys that blind transfer who don't enter the transfer portal. It's going to be a horrible look. That's going to happen.
I'm sure.
It's going to happen, and it's going to be a name that college football fans know, probably multiple of them, and that's going to open up an entire new poop
Pandora's
storm.
box.
Yeah.
What else we got? Brennan Sorsby is being sued by Cincinnati. This is from Mark Schleybaugh at ESPN. Cincinnati sued former quarterback Brennan Sorsby in federal court Wednesday, alleging he breached his NIL contract with the Bearcats when he refused to pay a $1 million exit fee after he transferred to Texas Tech.
Why didn't Tech cover that?
Well, and some people have said that. So Sorsby reportedly signed an NIL agreement with the Red Raiders that will pay him between $4 million and $6 million this season. This is a quote from, I don't know which university. I think it's Texas Tech, university statement. In his lucrative NIL agreement with Cincinnati Athletics, or I guess Cincinnati, Brennan Sorsby committed to stay and play for 2 seasons as a proud Bearcat representative. He also agreed that if he left the university before that time, he would pay the university a specific amount for the substantial harm that his breach would cause.
They're well within their rights, Cincinnati, to do this, in my opinion.
Sure.
They win.
Honestly, me too.
The lawsuit said that Sorsby signed an 18-month NIL contract with the Bearcats that covered the 25 and 26 seasons that is set to expire in December of 26. The university claims Sorsby notified the football team on December 1st he was done playing for the Bearcats and wouldn't compete in their bowl game. Sorsby then entered the transfer portal 1 month later on January 2nd and almost immediately signed an NIL deal with the Red Raiders.
Fact, Sean. I don't know why Tech ain't up in that $1 million.
They should.
For sure.
Because I'm guessing that they had someone look at the contract and said, oh, this
We don't
isn't
got to?
enforceable anyway.
The lawsuit says, despite the clear contractual obligation to do so and despite his ability to pay, Sorsby still has not paid the university. Sorsby has benefited greatly by the NAL agreement he entered into with the university, along with the university's sustained efforts to promote him and help establish him as a top collegiate quarterback. Now the university seeks to enforce its rights under the same agreement to recover the amount Sorsby is contractually obligated to pay. Obviously this isn't the first of its kind. In December, Georgia sued former edge rusher Damon Wilson for almost $400,000 in damages after he transferred to Missouri following the 2024 season. Georgia asked a judge to force Wilson into arbitration to settle the dispute. Wilson countersued Georgia in a Missouri court, alleging the Bulldogs had, quote, weaponized a liquidated damages clause in an unenforceable way to, quote, punish Wilson for entering the portal. He, of course, still entered the portal, played one season for the Tigers. I don't know if that has settled. And then obviously Duke and Darian Mensah was a similar kind of thing. However, that one reached an undisclosed settlement on January 27th, allowing Mensah to join the Hurricanes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for Cincinnati, man. Get that bread.
Also, I definitely never said that we'll only have more talent than the other team for the first 2 to 3 games. For what it's worth.
CU basketball.
Let's talk hoops, baby. Colorado basketball got a win last night, a home win against K-State. K-State has obviously had a rough basketball season.
Yeah.
Losing their head
Love to see
coach.
it.
But after the game, Kansas State's interim head coach, Matthew Driscoll, had an interesting comment. He goes, quote, you guys, talking about Colorado, ought to be really proud of what you guys have in front of you. If you take advantage of it, pony up, and do what you need to do to keep that young core together, you guys have a chance. You really do. This is one of the youngest rosters, lineups in college basketball. Last night's win clinched a winning season for this team this year, which I'll be honest, I didn't envision that. Yeah, it does. For such a young team, a rebuilding team, that was honestly not something that I envisioned, particularly in the best conference in college basketball in the Big 12. So for them to get 7-8 conference wins, finish with a winning record with that young of a group, I think just speaks to the job that Tad Boyle has done this year, the job Tad Boyle has done. And that quote, hopefully somebody's showing that to Fernando Lovo.
I'm sure they are. And, obviously then you got to show it on to the donors.
No doubt. No doubt.
But there was also reporting recently that it was kind of I can't remember who reported it. I think it was ESPN, but I don't know who. That, there was a thought that Tad Boyle might retire after the season, but that he's now expected to return for the next season. I don't think there's any coincidence between that quote and that reporting. I think, Tad sees a lot of potential in this team and thinks that, hey, if we can keep this group together, I might be able to make one more tournament run. So it's going to be a really important offseason for the Colorado basketball program to keep these guys around, namely Isaiah Johnson, who is kind of at the core of it all. But, Isaiah Johnson, if he turned on some local programming last night, could have seen 2 Colorado basketball guards going head-to-head on ESPN between the Nuggets and the Celtics. So, he's going to be developed very well if he stays here, and he'll obviously have opportunities to go elsewhere where, he might have those opportunities as well. But it's exciting what could happen for this team if they're able to grow and mature together.
No doubt. As it relates to Isaiah Johnson, that's a star. And I mentioned it, having a true freshman in Julian Lewis and a true freshman Isaiah Johnson at the respective top men's sports of a program, I think is really special. And to your point, if Tad Boyle knows how to do anything, he knows how to develop and produce elite point guards. And I think Isaiah Johnson is the next in line. KJ Simpson last night made his Ball Arena debut for the Denver Nuggets and looked like KJ Simpson. Had a steal and a dunk late in the third quarter to kind of push the Nuggets lead to 10. I think he had 4 assists in his minutes played. David Adelman, Nuggets coach, had an interesting quote after the game on KJ. He goes, KJ didn't show up thinking he was going to play. And then Jamal gets sick and he's in the game. That's the reality of this league. He looked comfortable, took care of the ball, and finished with plus 13 with 4 assists. That's a professional player.
Let's go,
David Adelman says. And I kind of said it last week when we talked about KJ, with the Nuggets kind of
injury luck and just weirdness with their roster and player availability this year, like there are going to be, I think, opportunities for KJ Simpson to, you know, make his mark. And I think last night was just the first step of that.
Well, and I think KJ brings a lot of exactly what the Nuggets need, which is like energy and intensity and, you know, just a overall seriousness about everything that he does.
Definitely.
That I felt like maybe the Nuggets were getting a little resting on their laurels a little bit. And I think when you inject someone like KJ into the game, it like wakes everyone up. So that's exciting. But David Isbell had an interesting comment where he said, I don't think Johnson landed here by mistake. And I think that's also important to remember. Isaiah Johnson's dad is a world-renowned like private basketball trainer.
Yep.
And wherever he sent his son to play was going to be somewhere where he believed in the coaching.
100%.
And so I agree with David that it's not a coincidence that IJ ended up here. And that's something to kind of hold on to as we hope we can, you know, at least get one more season out of him.
No doubt. I think Ian Inman last night had a career high. It's a freshman. Obviously, Sebi Ranchik is a young player. Bangad Dak is going to be back next year. At least has eligibility. Like that entire Alon is a freshman, so to speak, after playing some professional ball overseas. This team, you keep them together, man, could really make some noise in the Big 12 and I think be a tournament team next year, potentially.
We'll see. Big offseason coming up in the sport of college basketball. Anything else today, gentlemen? Tomorrow, preview quarterbacks. Last spring preview.
Let's get it.
And we'll talk Julian Lewis, the go-go offense, and much more. Last show before the start of spring football, technically.
Unbelievable.
Technically. We live in technicalities here. We will be back tomorrow. We'll see you then. Let's go Buffs.
Let's go Buffs.
We all silly like the mayor.